Farm for Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit podcast.
Hanging out live. The World Agricultural Expo. Is it the World Ag Expo? Yeah. World Agricultural
No, don't say that. Ag Expo.
WAG. Wage.
They can't put that much on a sign. It's ag.
It's got to be the World Ag Expo. It's the first interview out here. It's exciting for us to have come into this region. And, well, Dave came in the dark, so we really didn't see anything. But Corey and I got to see rows and rows of trees and vines and
Mountains.
paddocks. Yes.
Cattle.
Mountains in the background.
Yep.
In the valley.
Yep. Various agriculture out here.
Very diverse.
Yep.
And we're going to not talk to somebody from California during the first interview, but going to learn a lot about something that's different than corn and soybeans.
Yep. That's what we're here for.
So, do you have enough coffee today? What'd you have, 3 or 4 cups already?
Yeah, I was counting. 3, 4. Yeah.
Do you think you can handle a
Trying to get to 12.
Trying to get
introduction
12.
out here?
Dave's trying to do 12 gallons of water or liters of water.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Is that?
Get me a.
I can get you. I will get you an intro song.
No, you won't. Where's that?
We're going to have to disconnect from their Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah, I had to do that already.
All right. Here we go, Corey. Got you some music. To
About time.
Fired up.
About time.
The world of audio editing just worked.
We're at World Audio Editing.
Yeah. Today on the Farm4Fun show from the John Deere booth at the World Ag Expo in Tulare, California, we have 2 recovering ag bankers. But they're on the right path. One is a host, one is a guest. He's a 5th-generation farmer, farms dairy, beef, sod. Used to own a Lely robot dealership, sold that off, just found that 2 seconds ago. Please welcome from Raft River, Idaho, Mr. Josh Webb of Hagler Creek Farm.
Welcome.
Yeah,
thank you. It's great to be here.
I think we had to insert like fake claps on that one. This is an early morning audience. We do have right here in front of the bags, watching some kids play.
I kind of feel like we're like announcers at a sporting event, standing up and,
Yeah.
kind of like.
This is going to be a good test, right?
It's right
'Cause,
after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
next time we do this, Josh, you're going to have to come in studio. Our table is a little bit higher. We might have to Pat McAfee a couple of shows
Yeah.
and just not sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
You have to let us know from the guest perspective after we're done how you like standing up.
All right. Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right, let's get into it. Tell our listeners who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, so like Corey said, I'm from South Central Idaho on a dairy farm there. We've been in the dairy business for 133 years going on this year,
Wow.
5th generation, so pretty awesome. Work real hard not to be the generation that loses that.
That
so,
loses it, huh?
Yeah,
That's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Man. So we moved from Utah. My family did. I wasn't born at the time, but in the mid 70s up to South Central Idaho, and from there we've just kind of grown and diversified. In the last 10 or 15 years, I'd say most of our diversification and our growth has come in that time period. So we used to strictly dairy and raise crops for our cows, and then we started a feeding operation, and today it's probably one of our bigger operations. We custom feed about 8,000 head at our home place, and then we're partners with somebody on another feedlot. We're by the end of next year should be about 20,000 head on that feedlot.
Wow. Holy smokes.
So yeah, so that's one thing, and then from there we actually got into the cow-calf business, and we have a ranch, and we have a dairy, obviously, or we have 2 dairy barns. One's a parallel parlor, and one's a Lely robotic parlor that we milk in. And then, one of the things we've really tried to do is diversify our operations. So my brother, he didn't want anything to do with farming necessarily. I think he was probably the smartest one of all of us, but decided to be an electrician. When he, after he got his master electrician license, he came back, and we started an electrical contracting business, and that served us really well. I don't know numbers, but I'm assuming we have 80 or 90 employees at that business at this point.
Wow.
From there, we started a plumbing business, and then we now are home building. We do home buildings now. We also bought one of the neighbor's farm. He had a sod operation, and we decided to keep it going. We didn't know anything about raising grass, but we thought we'd give it a try because some was already planted when we bought the farm.
Is that the logo on your hat?
Yeah. Sod rolls.
I was going to say it looks like sod rolls.
So yeah, Rafter Sod is our company there, and we think we have 600 to 700 acres of sod, and we sell that mostly to the Salt Lake area. A lot of new home builds. We're doing some golf courses, some schools, parks, that kind of stuff. So that's been actually a really, really good business for us as well. With sod came transportation. We needed to transport our sod, so then we started a trucking business. We thought that'd be a good idea. So we reached into that field, and then and then we've got some other. We build some. We have an investment company with a contractor there in locally, and build some things and rent them out. Just try to do some real estate investing in that capacity too. So. A little bit of everything, I guess you could say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Diversification.
That's what
at its definition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were an ag lender at one time?
I was, yeah. So after college, I worked for the Farm Credit System and then for another bank, and I was primarily ag lending. Yep, did that for 8 years or so. And when I returned to the operation, I came back as a CFO. We had grown to the point where we needed that position, and so I started there, and we've now hired much smarter people than I was to fill that role. So we're pretty fortunate to have a good team now.
You took all the money you made from banking and bought cattle, and then all the money you made from cattle, and you decided to make a dairy, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess, yeah.
You couldn't have done this in Utah? Why move?
No. So in the 70s, at that time, I think there was a few things working against him in Utah. I think there was some pressure from. It was really growth related. I mean, from the city just expanding out. They were, south of Salt Lake. And today, if you drive there, we actually had the opportunity to buy this last year. We bought the original farmstead back from the guy my grandpa sold it to. There's only 7 or 8 acres left, but it's surrounded by homes and parks. And, I mean, it's in the middle of a city now. So I think, there's a lot of that pressure to leave. They had talked about putting a highway or some roads through the farm there. And so they, real estate was fairly cheap at the time in Idaho. So that's where they went. So, yeah, there's a lot of dairy farm families in that area that have all since dispersed, and I don't think there's anybody left.
So you said southern Idaho. Is that mountainous region?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about 4,400 feet elevation, our farm is. And, and there's mountains all around us, yeah. So like to ski in the winter.
So do you farm like in a valley in that, or like how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty flat.
Yep.
I mean, we're outside the mountains. Yeah, It's pretty flat. So kind of
that's
more
all
of a
new to
desert
us, 'cause
area.
everything's flat.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
We're from,
no,
right?
yeah, it's not like where you're from.
Yeah. I was trying to decide when we were coming from L.A. whether some of those are they hills or are they mountains. They look like a mountain to me, but
It's all perspective.
Yeah.
What does it take to be a mountain? Classified as a mountain.
I don't know.
Snow on the top?
I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, then we saw a couple mountains then.
Yep.
Because we did get to see a little bit of
It's
snow.
just like lakes and ponds. Like, when's it
That's
a
true.
pond to a lake?
Yeah.
7 acres, 10 acres? Like, when does
Yeah.
it become a...
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. Huh. That's interesting.
Okay, I don't know how we want to dissect this, but I'm super intrigued as to, I don't know if I know of any other farming operation that has an electrician business
Or plumbing.
or plumbing. I
Yeah.
mean, just the fact that I know we have listeners that struggle
Yeah.
to find good electricians, and how cool would it be to call someone who also works in the same industry as you and understands that this is the type of electrical service you need.
Yeah. So so everything we've done is really started with agriculture. So that electric company now services the industrial. We do commercial, residential. But the way it started was my brother was the electrician, and he started working on pump panels and dairies, right? And our first big projects were dairies that we new build dairies that we would go out and do the electrical for.
Mm-hmm.
And from there it grew. So, really everything that we've ever done has started out of a need, first of all, and has really been based in agriculture, started in agriculture, and then kind of just expands from there. So we don't like stepping outside of our, the book, I think it's called The Richest Man in Babylon. It talks about not stepping outside, not doing what you're not familiar with, and that's kind of been our motto, I guess you could say. And
do you think it helped for our listeners? There's lots of guys that have side jobs. We've talked with guys all over, and with your brother, I mean, how much did your business in agriculture already help him start the electrical business?
Well, we certainly had a need in-house. We farm, 4,500 acres at that location, and we have a lot of wells, a lot of pivots. So we needed that. We could keep a guy busy full-time. We do keep a guy busy full-time, yeah. So that was the start. We just peeled it off and said, okay, we're going to run this as its own separate business. Yep. You're going to charge us market rate. We went out and hired an apprentice, and then from there it just kind of grew. Found more jobs. And
well, I like the direction that your family has gone with the mentality is you're not doing. When you jumped into these new adventures, you went off and created it, started off by doing, but very quickly found somebody else to run it. Your brother's probably head of the electrical business.
Right.
But he's probably not doing a lot of the day-to-day anymore.
No, so we, in all of our businesses, we run the entrepreneurial operating system, the EOS model. So we have a visionary, in each one of those businesses, and that's correct. So our success really has come from the people that manage our businesses. I am not a very good manager, and I know that, but I know enough to hire a good manager, and that's really all. My only job at this point is to make sure we have the right people running those businesses. And, once we have that in place, we treat them right. We pay them fairly. Things just, it's amazing how quickly things grow and how successful we are just having the right people. And, and I can't micromanage details. I mean, we've got hundreds of employees.
Have you ever hired the wrong person?
We have.
I was going to say, how'd you determine it?
You know pretty quick.
You know pretty quick that it's the wrong person, and then they're out.
So we learn every year. We learn as we grow. They say slow to hire, quick to fire, right?
Yep.
Sometimes that's easy to say, but it's hard to do.
Yeah.
So
heck, Corey's still around.
Yeah. I still have a job.
Slow to fire.
It took us a long time to get you on the podcast, and you're still here.
So we now have an HR manager who kind of helps recruit and do a lot of that stuff for us. But it's a lot of our best employees have come from referrals from other employees, or we see somebody that we really like in an industry or a maybe even a competitor. We're going to go after that person. So we really want to build a culture where people want to work for us. And
do you have a barbecue company? I smell barbecue, boys.
It smells good.
Man.
What's your title now then?
It's pretty vague.
Yeah?
Owner.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
I like that.
But your day-to-day is making sure you have the right people in the right spots?
Yeah, day-to-day. I mean, anymore, it's filled a lot with meetings,
Yep.
Unfortunately. And that's not really what I love, but it's necessity. So, once a week we'll have we have individual company meetings once a week. We have our EOS level 10 meetings, we call them, and so we'll meet. So once a week I meet with the dairy and the feedlot managers and the feed manager, and then once a week I'll meet with another feedlot, our other location management team there. I'll meet with the board of directors. Meet with
Wow.
It's just meetings, unfortunately, and
So I got a crazy
it sucks.
That's crazy.
Crazy question for you.
Yeah.
So I've thought of doing this. So this is just me asking the question. When is the juice worth the squeeze? Because you were probably pretty successful at doing the one operation. It's like, man, do you really want to take on the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, or is it just that many more people to manage, that much more hassle to manage, or is it is it worth it? Like in the long run?
Yeah, so, one of the things that we have learned, and I'd say maybe we've learned the hard way, is making sure your system is set up so that it doesn't make more work. I mean, the first thing you think about is when we expand, it's more work, right?
Yeah.
And that's true. If you have the right person on board, though, and the right system in place, it's not as difficult as it sounds.
Okay.
It's more about the people.
It
'Cause
is.
If you got
It's
the
all
right
about
person
people.
and you can see the opportunity for you to expand, it's not, this is going to be more work for me. It's going to create more subordinates or more along those lines to take it on.
Yeah, and and we could say in the onset, the first few years in any business, it's tough. We've started up a lot of businesses, and some of them have failed, and some of them have succeeded. But and they're not money makers from day one, right? If they were, everyone would do it.
Right.
Yep.
So it's taken some time to get to that point, but But I look back at a year like 2023, just this last year. You know, the dairy business in general wasn't a great one. We did not make money, and there's some producers out there who probably did fine last year. But for us, and I think for a lot of the industry as a whole, it was a tough year. We were coming off some really high feed prices the year prior. So as I look at 2023 and I look at a consolidated financial statement, we had a good year, and I would say the juice was worth the squeeze in a year like that, right?
Yeah.
Because we were able to withstand a bad year in one sector, but it was offset by some really good years in the other sectors.
You're like cattle markets today. They're a little bit better.
Yeah, cow-calf, our cow-calf deal, there was a few years I thought, I don't know why we run this cow-calf ranch. And last year I'm thinking, well, I don't know why we wouldn't ever get rid of this business.
Why don't we expand it?
Oh, man, let's buy more.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, so for lack of, I don't know, a better way to describe it, we typically have the family farm model. And I would say it's, father, kid, not a very big deal, not very many employees. If they do, it's one or two in Iowa. At what point did you turn from a family farm to a farm business?
Well,
And who was the visionary behind that?
so it was probably my dad's generation.
Okay.
So for a lot of years, it was father to son, father to two sons.
Yeah.
So my grandpa and his brother separated. So then it was my grandfather, and there was four sons on the operation. And so, and then so I grew up working with cousins, and then 5 years or so ago, we bought them out essentially, and my cousins have the opportunity to do that. Right now, it's my two brothers, myself and my two brothers, and we have one. It would be my cousin's husband. He's working in the business with us, and then I've got another cousin that's working in the business with us. We have some rules of engagement, some rules of ownership. We have to go work somewhere else for a period of time. When we come back, we have to work on the operation for 5 years before we're eligible for ownership, just to make sure it's going to be the right fit, make sure that person wants to come in, and make sure we as owners want to, accept that person in, as just make sure it's a good culture fit.
Yep.
And so, I hope we're still viewed as a family business, and I think it's maybe a little tongue in cheek. We've set it up probably more like if you were working at some level in our company, it probably feels more like a corporate structure at this point.
Yeah.
But we try to have, we have family picnics and Christmas parties, and we want to include, not only our family but our employees' families.
Can't get too rowdy at the family picnic. You got an HR department
That's
now.
right. That's true.
They might be there.
They've shut me down on a lot of things now. Yeah.
So do you offer that same structure for non-family members? Someone to be able to buy in?
No, not at this point.
I would say you can say it's a family business.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Because it's not structured that way for me to show up, work 5 years, potentially get into ownership.
Correct. Yeah. So, on the farming side, I still like it when I see these kids coming to work with their dads and learning how to operate or be around the cows. I like that. I don't know if there's a time that we're going to lose that. HR, we might be shutting that down, but. I don't know. I guess I don't know if we ever made that switch in our minds. I feel like, hey, we're still a family operation, and we still.
But it comes with rules, and we've had a lot of conversations on this podcast about how you define the difference between working with your family and then going to the picnic, and being able to say, it was okay that I told you weren't doing a very good job, or we needed to improve in a sector, and you're not going to come mad, or you shouldn't come mad at supper. Or the picnic. This is part of the process. We've got our 3-point review. We've got whatever it is, and that's okay because we want to make the business successful, and you would do that with any employee.
Yep.
Yeah. So, business is business, family's family, and it's hard, but you have to make a mental decision to define to set those boundaries. Right. My brother and I, as a good example, my youngest brother and I, we probably disagree the most, and we yell. We've yelled at each other, never physically got into it because he'd probably take me.
Because he'd probably take me.
He's a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
But
we'll edit that out for you.
But when we leave those meetings, I can call him still, and we can do fun stuff as with his family. I'll come over on Sunday. We you have to work at it, but you have to just keep that in mind, and it's nothing personal. And I still love the guy. We we can disagree, but we can still have a good relationship.
So speaking of family, what's your immediate family? You kids, married?
I do, yeah. I'm married. I've got 5 kids. Yep. So my oldest 2 daughters are both at college, and I have 3 left at home. So.
And do you think they want to come back?
I don't know. My oldest daughter's studying to be she's going into a nursing program, and she works at a retirement home now. And I don't know. I guess.
You know what? One of our other sponsors, Sukup Manufacturing Family Business, actually created an on-site healthcare.
Yeah.
For all of their employees to get their checkups, their physicals, all these things. Maybe she could
great
come
idea.
back.
Yeah, because they're like 35, 40 minutes from the closest town, and they did it during COVID. So, during all the testing and all that crap.
Hired their own nurses.
They would lose
yeah.
a day at work or half a day at work. If someone had to go in and get tested, they could just do on-site testing. Then all of a sudden, it's like, why don't we do this for doctor's appointments? And they have a doctor that comes around a couple times a week, I think. It's not their full-time, but they always have nurses on staff.
Kids need athlete physicals in the
Right,
state of Iowa.
right.
Same thing. You don't have to
Yeah.
take
Member
off.
benefit.
See, now
to-
you guys are thinking like me.
Yeah.
You look for an opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things we want, we want our children to come back and our cousins or siblings, but we can't just bring more people and not grow, right? So that's kind of a lot of this growth that I'm talking about has really been driven by.
We find a spot to put them too.
Yeah. I mean, you can come back, but what are you going to do to make this business pay for you, first of all, and
Right.
second of all, to make additional income?
You need to be an asset, not a
right.
drain.
And so, for us to have a 2,500 cow dairy and just to bring all these people back just
Doesn't work.
doesn't work. No, it doesn't. So
And that could work, but it's not going to generate the quality of life that they're probably seeking.
right,
Because if they want to come back and push feed and run the parlor,
not very
Right.
many people are
Well,
going to be there.
you're on a
Correct.
family farm. You are as well, Corey.
Yep.
So your brother wanted to come back, and you
Yep.
kind of already had yours. That's when you bought the hog confinement, right?
We bought the hog confinement to get me back to the farm.
Yeah, I was going to say. So
Yep.
you guys created a position so that you weren't a drain on the company. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think it opens up the opportunity for people to do what they enjoy doing, right? They're going to be successful at things they love. My brother was not going to love farming, but he loves being an electrician. And now he's, he probably doesn't do much of the day-to-day anymore. But so we can get creative and find a business or an opportunity for that person
Yep.
in doing something they enjoy. And so, I hope that it continues to grow that way. I hope my kids, it's a great idea. I mean, if my daughter wants to open a nursing clinic, I hope we're in an opportunity or we're in a position that we can.
Well, if you had enough employees, it
help
would
with
be
that.
it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Then a daycare. Sukup's doing childcare as well on site now.
Yeah.
For all, it's crazy. Yeah.
So out of all the different genres that you get into, what's your favorite? Like cow-calf? Do you like milking cows? Do you like the executive part? Like
so we've kind of separated our businesses. So when I attend board meetings, I'm really representing the cattle portions of our business. My brother represents the farming, the sod farm, the trucking. And my other brother represents the electrical, the plumbing,
Construction side.
construction stuff. Yeah. So I would say we've kind of gravitated to what we enjoy. So I enjoy being around cattle. Unfortunately, with our business model now, I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to, and so and that might be some of that might be self-inflicted. I probably just need to prioritize my time a little bit better. But I really, really enjoy being on a horse and being outside, and I love the beef cow deal. It's great. The feedlots have been fun. We custom feed now, and we've taken a little bit of risk out of our business by not raising our own animals, but we try to do a really good job for those customers we have. And then, the dairy probably wasn't my first love, but it's the girl that we brought us to the dance,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So we gotta, so I've learned to love it a little bit more, I guess you could say. So.
So did you ride horse in high school, rodeo, anything there?
Nope. I mean, my dad, growing up, every Sunday afternoon, our hobby, I guess you could say, we'd go to church and then we'd come home, eat dinner, and then we'd saddle the horses and we'd go to the mountains and ride.
Oh, awesome.
We weren't too far from some national forest, just a couple miles from our house. So
Very cool.
we'd pick a different trail and we'd get on a horse and go ride. So we didn't have a cow-calf operation growing up, so we didn't do a lot of working horse at that point, but kind of got a love for it, and then when we got back into it, So now I got, now I've got maybe a little bit of a problem. We got some nice horses. And
Hey,
Any of-
buddy.
Any of them racing horses?
no.
Okay.
No.
See, your problem's not too bad.
Yeah.
I want to know when we look at these cattle operations. We were talking before how we drove in here and we got to see some dairies, and we don't see a corn plant anywhere. And a lot of our cattle is fed corn-based diets. I mean, we take 3 or 4 different versions of corn. Are you guys in an area that produces corn in Idaho, or are you strictly forage diets?
Yeah, so a lot of forage. We raise corn silage. We can raise corn silage. Pretty short variety, day varieties.
Yep.
We have to plant some 75 to 80 day corn to get it to grow and mature. And then we bring in a lot of corn from you guys. Thanks.
Good. I wondered if it got shipped out
appreciate
for
that.
you.
But our basis right now, we're running about a $1.60 to $1.70 on basis. So
Over?
I mean, it's not. Yeah.
We should.
So
we
Man,
should
I'm gonna ship
set
some
up.
corn.
Yeah.
I'm going to ship some corn out
somebody's
to
making
you.
it.
We could get buy direct off the farm. Leave the middleman
we
out.
Do you
found
have
it-
rail access?
Well, that's cheaper than it was a couple years ago. We were
Yeah.
up to $3 at one point on basis,
God.
and so it's expensive to finish. That's why you don't see a lot of finish yards in the West.
Yeah.
It's expensive to finish animals.
So how many bushel would you need?
We got a side
Well,
business
when
starting
you go
right
to buy
now.
it,
We're
when you
gonna
go to
broker
buy
a lot.
like
We're going to
that,
broker farm for profit listeners.
Yeah, are you using a broker? Or I mean, are you getting it on trucks? What?
No, it comes on rail.
Comes on rail.
Yeah, and we're using. I don't know what their name is now. They've been bought out, but it was Gavilon.
Oh, Gavilon Grain, yeah.
Yeah, so they've been bought out twice, I think, in the last few years. So.
Gotcha.
They must be making too much money on you.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
Someone
we try
else
to do
sees the
some risk
revenue.
management, on that side. We try to lock in corn as best we can, and
Well, don't lock it in now. It's
basis.
going to zero.
that's what they tell me. I hope so. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry
bet
for you
do.
guys,
I
but
bet you do.
We'll let it go there. You get it bought, and then it needs to come back.
okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Well, we play games with all of our guests just to kind of break up conversation. We're going to play the word association game with you. So we're
Okay.
going to tell you a word,
Okay.
and you don't have to come with a one-word answer. We want you just to say the first thing that comes to your mind. So if it's a phrase, a thought, a story, whatever it is, we're going to give you one word. You give us an answer.
Okay.
What do you think? You got one?
Sure. Disease.
First thing that comes to mind is I try to prevent as much disease from getting onto my feedlots as possible.
Yeah.
So
So do you do anything special for that type of practice? Is it wash in, wash out? Is it just
no. Well, when every animal arrives, we run them through every animal through the chute. We try to do it within 24 hours. From a stress standpoint, we try to get them through, get them vaccinated, look over them, make
And-
sure if there's anything.
Any of your kids going to vet school? Or do you have vets on staff?
I do not. So, funny story. My daughter's getting pretty serious with a young man, and my oldest daughter, and her dad's a vet. And I thought, this is perfect. Found out he wants to be an engineer. So, yeah. I mean, I still love the kid, but I thought that maybe we'd be there. So, no,
you could
not
probably do
yet.
something with engineering, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We
Yeah.
need a new robot.
So
That's the next word. Robot.
oh?
robot. Well, that's Laley dairy robots. That's what we have in our barn. So.
Gotcha. And you
yeah.
were a dealer, but you're not anymore.
We're a dealer, yeah. When we first started, we looked into expanding our dairy. We couldn't find a dealer close. There was no dealer in our area, so we thought, well, we're good at diversifying and starting new businesses. Let's just start a dealership.
Yep.
So we started the dealership.
What family member did that? Whose idea
at
was
the
that?
time, yeah, at the time. So that was when my uncles were still involved, and my dad. So that was kind of my uncle. My one uncle kind of took that on and started that. So we got our robots bought. We did some other projects, built our barn, and then we've sold that business. It just it's hard. We sold that to a business that does that. They have other lines of dairy products.
Other
So
short
it's
line
more of a full-time gig for them.
Yep.
For us, it was.
Before you say your next word, I want to come back to it. When your uncles decided to retire, because you're not that old, but go with your word, Tanner.
Monkey.
My youngest.
I want to know what actually the first thought is, because he goes through.
I go through a progression.
Yeah.
2 or 3 laughs, and the first one is the one that was probably
not that
funniest.
one. I can't say that.
Yeah.
Well,
That
maybe
wasn't
this one.
politically
I mean,
correct.
They did bring up the HR department.
Yeah.
My youngest son, he has a lot of energy, and I call him a monkey a lot. Damn
Bouncing off
monkey.
of stuff.
Climate,
Climbing stuff.
Yeah.
He wants to. So he thinks in his mind he can live in the wilderness, and so he has a survival bag, a weapons bag,
Oh,
and
man.
at any given time, like he's 9 years old, right? And he's
Sure.
like,
Got a
Dad,
go bag."
just let me know. We can go. We'll
Yeah.
go survive in the mountains. All right, son. And
He's
I mean,
one of those that
he's
when
ready.
when he runs away from home,
yeah.
you might not see him for a couple days. I'll get this figured out.
So do you guys hunt as well?
I enjoy hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very-
Yeah.
Do you hunt- go ahead.
We have, and I'm kind of a lazy hunter, so we have a lot of elk that come down
Yeah.
into our cornfields, and the Fish and Game in Idaho's, they're good to kind of work with us. They give us some tags because we're feeding their animals, you know, and everybody else's. And instead of a feed bill, they give us some tags, so we'll shoot some elk. And I like to waterfowl hunt. We're right along the Snake River, and that's a lot of fun. Upland bird hunt as much as I can. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Have
We
you
need to haul
hunted
some
in
corn
Idaho?
out, and then we'll go elk hunting. Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you been in Idaho?
I've been in Idaho, up towards Salmon, Idaho, and done some elk hunting up there. But I'm from Montana originally, across the way. So yeah.
So that like a rifle or bow
Yeah.
or
Rifle.
rifle? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, haven't gotten into bow hunting yet.
Got any whitetail?
No, not in our area.
Muleys?
Muleys, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Muleys are dumb compared to whitetail. They just bounce. Boing, boing. Yeah. All right. Next word. How about motivate?
So we try really hard, and I'm not very good at it. We try to motivate our employees, and we try to do it through culture. So, you know, I think I alluded to the fact that we run the EOS operating system, the entrepreneurial operating systems. We try to pattern our meetings after some of the stuff that they've written. And one of the things that we do before each meeting is we have everybody at the meeting has to tell us their good news personal and their good news business. So, you know, we want to focus on the good things before we get into the issues that we have to discuss and solve for the day. So, you know, I think trying to be positive is a motivating tool that we've tried to do. And there's times that I'm good at it, and there's times that I'm not so good. So I catch myself, you know, I got to lead by example. So I've got to be positive.
I thought he was going to say hot shot.
That's
how you get him motivated.
that does work. That's how I was motivated.
That's
as a
how I
kid.
was motivated. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to end the game and get to Dave's question, so we don't go too
I'm
long.
sitting here. I'm looking at this contraption along the way that I want to go see. That obviously cuts. It saws that go around, and it's going to prune trees that are really tall
those
up
are
there.
cool.
I keep waiting like it's a Ferris wheel and it's going to start up. It hasn't moved yet. All right. Yes. Go into your question.
About the uncles.
Yeah. So when you have a 9-year-old, so you can't be much. You're not 50 yet, by any means. So you're under that. With that, so you're in my age demographic, and I'm thinking, well, Corey, you know, your family, you're getting there. You're not quite 40s yet, but when does Dad retire? When do they go? And then how do you buy them out? How are you not just that money-hungry kid that says, "I'm taking over, Dad. Let me make the calls"? What did that look like?
Yeah. So we worked on that for a good part of 15 years, maybe more. Maybe
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Listeners, listen to that.
Yeah.
15 years?
It took forever. And we had planners come in and guys that would help us, our accountants, attorneys, and
So you had advisors.
Yeah, so early on it started with just the rules, you know, and I already talked about those. This is what it takes. If you're interested in being part of this operation, here's what it takes.
Gotcha.
So we can kind of weed out, if you will, the guys that are just money hungry, right? You're not going to go through all that work and go work for someone else and work there for 5 years. And when you start at 5 years, you don't get the management jobs, right? You're working down here, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when it started. And it, you know, I guess you can fast forward to the time when we did buy it out. So we actually did a buyout. I mean, my uncles had to basically be the bank and help finance the buyout.
Okay.
So,
but they also had to be in a position to where they could.
They were,
afford.
and they treated us well. So they gave us a discount. You know, they treated us really well. And
did you have appraisals done and valuations, or did they kind of come up with a number?
No, we used our market-based balance sheet the year we did it.
Okay.
So we made sure everything was marked to market, and then we had a discount from there, right? So, and then we just said, well, you know, what is it going to take for you to live comfortably for the next 20 years, and we made sure we matched kind of their income expectations with our debt service, expectations. So we both had to kind of give
exactly the conversations we've had with our gal in Canada.
Yeah.
Lane, yep.
No, we've got a couple of shows that have come out recently to try and help put things into perspective and let folks know that the first step is starting.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do this in one off season. You're not going to. It's going to take a whole team of people.
So you must have been 25 when you started the process, or when they started talking about it.
So right after I graduated high school, which was a long time ago.
Really, at 25, high school is
earlier than that.
Yeah. So I was probably 18, 19 at the time when we first started. When they first sat down and said, okay, because I'm the oldest, first kid's leaving. And I made it clear I wanted to farm. I loved doing what we did. And so they said, well, we better at least sit down and make some rules. And then so I lived by those rules. I got to this point, and then they said, oh, okay, well, now that he's back here, that part's done. Now what?
Right.
So then we had to start thinking about the next step.
You were the test dummy.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I still am.
Corey, were you thinking about buying the farm after high school?
Owner, test dummy. That's the title.
I knew eventually I wanted to, but I just wanted to find a way to get back to the farm. Because when I graduated high school, my parents said, don't come back to farming. It's not good right now. Go to college. At least go to college and have a degree, and then you have a backup plan. If you want to come try farming then, great, but if it sucks, then you can go do something else.
Seeing as an independent business owner, I'm trying to find employees to come that aren't going to jump ship and go to somewhere else. And so I'm always afraid. I want to give them an equity stake like you're talking about, but there's got to be some minimums, to buy in on that. But here's some equity in the company, because I'm looking for who's going to buy my company down the road too. And I assume parents think that too, is who's going to buy it. But we got to set them up for the next 20 years, so that they're good to go.
I love the variation of if you had an employee that had to be with you for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then provided them an opportunity to step into ownership. You could even look at that on a vested and non-vested basis to step into if they left you in year 8, you're not having to honor shares. I mean, there's probably ways to structure that with a little bit of thought.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you don't want to sell your company off, maybe you just do a dividend, where they get a percentage of net income.
So did you know all that stuff, or you had lots of people help you, it sounds like?
Oh, yeah. No, we didn't. I didn't know anything.
He was a banker. He knew
We've talked about this, Tanner, I think from the first podcast in my basement, that having a team.
Yep, the advisory
We've talked about having a team. How many team members are, just curious, so larger farm operation, how many team members are on your executive board? First, I'll ask Corey. How many are on your board?
Exec board or advisory board?
I'm an advisory board. Advisory and exec.
Oh, advisory? I mean, we don't really have one. I mean, on paper.
How many?
I would say 3 or 4 would be.
And you're a decent-sized operation. How many people that you think have this? I can't imagine that they even have that. When I think of HR, I don't know any farmer that has HR, maybe other than two other guys.
That's why we're so many small family farms. Like, no one wants to have the employees or doesn't want that,
Yeah.
That's our biggest barrier, isn't it? We're not managers.
Yeah.
So we need to hire a manager. And we haven't made it that step. But then you got to grow. There's no growth opportunities in our area. It's so consolidated.
So in your hold on, you asked the question and then we didn't give him a chance to answer it.
It's okay.
Your board meetings.
Yeah. So our board meetings, our ownership board meetings consist of the owners, and
which is 4 or 5.
Yeah. So 3. There's 4, soon to be 5. Then we're gonna, and then we would include the CFO generally in that meeting.
The wives come into that meeting?
No, they do not. So
not because of they're female, just the fact that they're not in the role.
They're spouses, I should say, not wives.
Yeah. So we try really hard to
keep emotion out of your.
We try really hard to keep emotion out. We one representative from a family.
Okay.
That's typically the best way to do it.
Okay. Cool.
So for us, and then if we have an executive board, we would include we have an attorney who works for us on staff. Our HR would come in there, and that's pretty much it. It would be added to that board. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's a 7 or 8 person board meeting.
Yeah.
Very effective, because when we talk about the advisory committee, that our listeners can form, right? Having a smaller family farm business.
Yep.
It's pulling in their local attorney, their local accountant. I'm not saying
their
local.
banker.
Try to do the banker, usually someone with insurance. That's what we're talking about on those advisory teams.
Mm-hmm.
We had done a couple of shows about formalizing a meeting where they're all in a room together and giving them the permission to speak, because you and I both know from the banking side, we can't say anything.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to say anything. And sometimes there's information that could be shared more openly, where your CFO is an employee with the attorney on staff that's an employee, with HR that's an employee. They all have access to the same information.
Right.
So you can say, we don't have budget to hire more people, or we need to hire more people because it's costing too much of us outsourcing. So,
yeah, and we're talking about the point we are today. We've had a lot of steps to get there. We had at one point, we did have an advisory committee. We brought in a couple local businessmen who were, one was a dairyman. We had them sign non-disclosures. Yeah. Gave them our financials, and we said, all right, here's our year-end financial statement. Here's what's coming up next year. We want everyone's opinion. And we got in the room, and it's good to have other, people that successful in your own operation or in your field, right? So if I had a good successful dairyman, he could shed some light on what I was or wasn't doing right. If I had a good farmer in there, another businessman, that might be an investor or real estate guy. So anyway,
I love that. That's great. Yeah. Corey, this is about the time he in the show comes up with questions that have nothing to do.
No, I'm still interested. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just when you go purchase ground, so you got to expand, right? Your base. Do you have an entity that's doing that, or can you buy as a individual and then lease it?
The
back
family
to the farm
probably buys the operation.
I could, but that wouldn't be fair to my partners.
Right.
Our partnership.
Why not?
Well, our partnership really is based on trying to be fair with one another. So if I were to go out and personally gain or run a side business, how much time and effort am I putting into my personal stuff versus the operation, right? So we've had this conversation. I've had a brother who wanted to do a little business on the side, and we just didn't go down that road. Now, I'm not saying that wouldn't work for other people, but I know from my experience, I want to be fully committed to our team, and I don't want to be the guy who's chasing my own and still getting paid from the business, chasing my own personal businesses, right?
Ideas,
and if I could buy one farm and I get a little equity, and then I'm probably going to be out shopping for another one. That's just how we are, right? And so, and then how would I make sure to lease that back to the operation on a fair? Is it fair to them? Is it a fair rate? I don't know. We just haven't gone down that road.
I'm just thinking of different family members might have different success or goals. Like some just might want to live comfortably. They're fine with $100,000 a year, not owning anything, just getting a salary. Some might, hey, I want to be a millionaire or whatever, but yet probably getting the same salary. I mean, how do you do that?
Corey, I have that problem with my wife.
Right?
She wants to just sit and do it. We're good. And I'm like, let's rock. Let's go. And she's not even motivated. I don't know how you do it between brothers and siblings versus just even.
Well, I think what we got figured out here is Josh needs to come by Iowa farm ground for us to farm, and then that way it doesn't affect affect the operation.
Yeah,
won't
right.
Cash flow,
cheap corn,
but you'll get cheap corn.
That's right.
We'll crop share, put it on rail.
You guys got it all figured out.
We're pretty good at this. Yeah.
So, what brings you to Tulare? Have you been here before?
I do, yeah. My brother and I, we try to come almost every year. And so
how far is it? Is it a plane ride or you drove here?
Well, we usually drive. I flew this time. Okay. We usually rent a party van, a big 15-passenger van, and we pick up a lot of our dairy buddies on the way.
Yeah.
It's usually full. And so and we stop in Vegas and stay there a day or two, and then on the way back, stay there a day or two. So we make it's a big to-do. So we try to do it every year. We did it last year. But this year, what brings me, so I'm actually involved with John Deere on the Global Dairy Advisory Committee. So I'm here in that capacity this year, not as a bum traveling through Vegas. So.
Oh, man, he's got responsibilities.
I know.
That's why he got stuck with us today.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So how do you get on the John Deere advisory?
I don't know.
For that. You must have John Deere equipment.
Well, we do run John Deere equipment, and I think it was more my brother. So he's a little more of the outgoing social media personality type. I'm not. And I think he kind of wanted to be on that advisory committee, and then they found out that I was the one who did all the cattle stuff, and so they backfired on him. So now I'm the guy. So yeah. So yeah. But yeah, if that's how it ended.
So
up.
next year we just need to make it to his farm.
Yeah.
And then we'll hop on the bus.
Come on.
Yeah.
And then
Well, we've been
we'll go
talking-
to
we've
We've been
Vegas
talking about
and all
getting
that.
our own bus.
We're gonna buy an RV before we leave.
I would love you guys to be on the party wagon
Yeah.
with us. It is awesome.
Can you imagine the content?
Yeah.
We're gonna get out of that?
We're gonna need that whole semi.
That whole semi-trailer right there.
Hey, we'll rent a bigger bus
Yeah.
if we need to.
Toter home. We'll just put on the back. Podcast home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Poter home.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we have a great time. Make it an event.
So like I said, this is our first day ever here. What else do we have to see?
Well, you got to eat a steak sandwich for sure.
The tri-tip
Yeah,
steak
there
sandwich?
it's the
Yep.
best.
Okay.
But there'd be a big line for it.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to get in line after our noon.
Yeah.
I think that sounds delicious.
It does
First
sound
day.
good.
Yeah, one of the things I like here is, I get to see all the stuff that I don't know much about. I mean, you got
Oh yeah.
like blueberry harvesters and
Yep.
and things that, I just in our area we just don't have that kind of diversity. It's
No.
it's a lot of dairy, a lot of row crop,
Yep.
potatoes, those kind of things. And when you get here, it opens your world up a little bit to see how big agriculture actually is. And you drive not very far from here, and it's unreal the amount of food that is produced in this state.
It is.
I mean, it blows my mind.
Especially, it's crazy. They kind of control the rest of the country, right?
do,
With
yeah.
all their
With
politics
they
and,
do.
and ag policy. and-
$5 fuel this morning we saw.
Yeah.
Mercy.
Yep.
That's double from
Yep.
what it is back
It
home.
is. Yeah, it's double what we are. So.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
That's impressive. Well, you got more?
No, that's
Okay.
Really?
What?
Just let me off easy.
What? With your farm, are you guys social? So we're big into social media. We're big into getting out there in front of people. Do you do that as well to get
Yeah.
customers to anything?
Yeah, we do it more for education. So we have, so I'm not on any platforms, just so you know, but we hire a content creator,
Oh, you do.
and she posts regularly. Yep, and she is extremely good at answering questions. So we're not doing it to be famous. We really want education. Education drives it. So, we try to post on there regularly on Instagram. I think she does Facebook, TikTok, all that
Right.
stuff. So, so that's our primary focus, and I talked a little bit about my grandpa's farm in Utah that we bought back, and that's one of the things thoughts we've had with that farm is how can we use that in an area where there's a large population that doesn't know anything about agriculture.
Right.
How can we teach? One of the favorite things that I do, we have a guy up there near where I live. He's got these water slides, and people come from everywhere and stay there through the summer, right? And it's mostly people from cities, family reunions, that kind of stuff. And he's really good about calling me and bringing over almost every night. He's calling me, hey, can I bring a tour over? And I never want to say no to that opportunity because
Right.
that is my chance to teach people where their food comes from. And it's just sad, there's just too many people that don't know that.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's the thing that drives me. I just want everyone to know. And I want everyone to know the truth,
Yeah.
not what they hear or what they read. I want them to know from me as a farmer, here's where your food comes from. Here's
Right.
what I do to keep
Right.
your food safe. Here's what I do to take care of my
Yep.
animals. You know what I mean? And
And I think that goes both ways because I have this conversation with my wife. So she's a big beef cattle person. And so she's like, I can't believe these people don't know where their steak come from. I'm like, well, where's the Louis Vuitton handbag come from? Which one's better? Is Coach better or is
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton or
Yeah.
is it Kate Spade? So I don't know. Well, so I think the whole world on both sides could actually learn from the other side.
That
True.
was
But do you
fascinating.
go and go, Louis Vuitton's killing animals or, like anything like that? Like, well,
No.
like they militantly come at like
Okay,
dairies.
but so
and
think about
ag
this,
and
right?
Things like that.
Taylor Swift. This is literally right after the Super Bowls when we're recording this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when it's going to air. The number of activists that jumped all over Taylor Swift for the amount of emissions in her private jet and all these things that are going on, it does happen.
Right.
It's not being done by the farmers until you get in our circle and you see them retweeting and sharing the same clips. Whether it's out of an emotion of this isn't fair, I get hit on all the time. Finally, now they're picking on a celebrity. I'm going to amplify this. It's not right,
Right.
but it gets done.
Yep.
there's whole different worlds out there, and not that it's an activist talking about a Louis Vuitton bag or something. Okay. It's just the knowledge that's important to those people, because in New York, the fashion industry, it's important whether you had that status of whatever. Well, it's important to us of people knowing where their food might come from. So just a little bit of both worlds. I always hear us in agriculture say, well, people should know, but maybe there's other stuff we should know too.
Well, and your agriculture in general is an older population, right?
Correct.
And so for us to be promoting that stuff through channels that younger generation will reach, it's difficult. So that's why we've hired someone younger and knows what she's doing.
I just know.
You need a podcast.
How well.
That's what you need.
We do. Yeah.
I know
we need
how
a
well.
reality TV show.
There you go. Oh, ding dong.
Guys got it. We got a couple ideas for you. We're going to talk funding after this.
Yeah.
No, I just can tell what kind of an operation that he runs, because if he can get a phone call any given evening and is okay with a tour showing up, you know that they're taking care of the unfortunate dead stock. You know they're taking care of their operation for cleanliness and making sure that the animals are treated fairly. I mean, that's kudos to your entire operation. The people that are working for you, that you feel comfortable saying, show up in a half hour. Great. It's not like, crap, we got a quick stuff in the top drawer.
Yep.
But no, this has been fun. We appreciate you coming in with knowing nothing.
Yeah.
And being open to the conversation. But we do ask the same question of all of our guests at the end of the show to compile some perspective.
Okay.
You've had to learn a lot of things throughout the expansion of your farm's business. One of the scariest things that our listeners run into is when you do something new, you have to first learn it. You have to go learn something new. So how have you effectively learned something? What makes you learn something or pick it up the fastest?
Well, I've said it already. It's hiring the right people. I don't have to know how to wire a house. I just have to know the person that does, or hire the right person,
Something that you can trust, yeah.
So, I mean, that might be a simple answer to that, but I think it's just not needing to know everything. I don't know much, and that sounds bad, but I sometimes don't know a lot of what's going on in my business, the day-to-day stuff, but I have complete trust, and I get a high-level review every week, right? Yep. I know what's happening, and when there's big problems, I know about it. So
I do like that answer.
Yeah. So knowing when to go learn it and when to hire it.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. And you'll drive yourself crazy trying to. I mean, I can't learn everything, right? And I can't be involved in every detail. And I can't be on site every single day with hundreds of people, right? It's just impossible. So I guess that'd be my answer.
That's a good answer.
Corey, do you think most farmers, I'm thinking of guys I know, and if they don't know it, they want to go learn it. Like every guy I know wants to go learn it. So that's
you.
That's
you're trying to learn how to plant your first crop
That's exactly right.
You're not.
Yeah, and you're just leaning on everyone around you in your circle.
Correct.
Yep.
And so it makes me think, well, maybe you don't, a great answer, because maybe you don't. And I think we might get too involved that we're so busy learning it, we might not succeed as much because we're busy.
Well, there's a time to work in the business and there's a time to work on the business, right?
Yep.
And at some level, you have to do both. When you're maybe a smaller operation or a little more a simplified operation. But too many times I see guys working in the business and not on the business, and
Yep.
In a way,
I'm not going to say it's easy, but I'm kind of jealous because I think dairies are almost pre-exposed to on this path because you already are working with a lot of employees. There's a lot of hands-on, that kind of stuff. Whereas we've gotten so much big equipment, we can farm so many acres, like row crop-wise.
We
don't need that many people. But like when it comes time to run it like a business, you can't do it all, right? Like, and to have that mentality, I think it just puts you guys so much farther ahead of us business-wise. And I think we need to start thinking like dairy farmers.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's right. Work real hard, don't make any money.
Yeah.
Start thinking like a dairy farmer.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, if you can do that, you probably go into a lot of other industries.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, Josh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate you taking the time.
It's been great. Thank you.
It was a pleasure getting to hear your perspective and a little bit about your family business operation.
Sure.
Appreciate that a lot.
And it finally warmed up. It was I could see our breath
good.
when we started, and now it's the sun's out.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really cold last year.
Really?
Really cold.
I heard a
we
guy
wouldn't
this
be
morning
standing
say
here.
that. He's like, man, the weather's so much nicer than it was
It
last
is,
year. As
yeah.
we're seeing our breath,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'll see you guys in Vegas then next year,
Next
right?
year,
I
yeah.
love this
Yeah.
idea.
Or actually, we'll see you on the farm. Jump in the party wagon.
There
We'll
you
head-
go.
We'll
Yep.
head
I
down.
like
That's
it.
great.
Cool.
Corey, with
Sounds
that, what do you tell the listeners?
Crack a bush light. You deserve it.